Swell Season Surf Radio is recorded by the Newsstand Studio at Rockefeller Center in the heart of Manhattan and is distributed by Wax.Radio. Welcome to Swell Season Surf Radio. I am your host for this episode, Tyler Brewer. Our guest was a 2009 XXL Big Wave Paddlin' Award winner, a former Big Wave charger, and now turned photographer. Derek Dunfee is our guest. Derek is a lifelong surfer raised on the reefs of La Jolla, California, who went on to travel the world and chase swells, becoming one of the most respected big wave surfers on the planet. At present day, he's reached a comfort level in heavy conditions that allows him to take his camera into scenarios most could never imagine. Dunphy's images take you right into the heart of some of the ocean's most powerful moments. It's this unique perspective that makes his imagery so remarkable and ultimately timeless. He has recently launched his second book, Waking Up in the Sea, where he goes into detail about surfing and chasing big waves, but also opens up about how concussions and trauma he suffered from big wave surfing impacts him in his everyday life. Derek, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much. Thank you. That was incredible intro.
Well, you know.
I'm flattered.
Well,
I appreciate that.
Some of it's lifted off your website. I'm not going to lie.
Awesome. Well, thank you. I'm so grateful. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
No, stoked to have you, and stoked to have you in New York. You know, really excited to get into it with you. But I've been a huge fan for years of your surfing and now your photography over the last couple of years.
Thank you.
I've really just always admired your bravado, but also your kind of humble demeanor about it all. Like, there's never been a very showboaty attitude about you. It's been very nice to see compared to some other big wave surfers. And, you know, I've been a big fan for a while.
Well, I appreciate that. That means a lot coming from you, you know, and that's actually why I'm here. I've had this is my kind of third year in a row coming out to New York.
Yeah.
First started coming out, visiting Chris at Pilgrim with Kai Lenny, and I really just love it out here. So thank you for saying that. It means a lot to me.
So let's discuss Waking Up in the Sea here.
I actually brought you a copy to check out. And it's wrapped up. It's actually wrapped up.
Let's get a little ASMR action going here. We'll like pop the bubbles here, the bubble wrap for all the ASMR fans. I'm not, you know, I was always one of those kids who just ripped open their gifts. I'm not one of those neat openers. So
no problem. I wrap them up because I just put so much time in it. I don't want to mess up the corners or anything. I rode my bike here a long time.
This is stunning. I mean, this is absolutely gorgeous. So,
thank you.
Who's Deca Press? Is that you?
That's me.
So you self-published this?
Yes, I self-published it. And I did 5 zines under the name Deca, Dekka. And just since I spent so much time on this, I thought I'd just write Deca Press. And it's self-published. This is my first book with that. But yeah, I spent up to almost 2 years on this book. And I'm really, really happy to share it. That's why I'm here in New York. And you guys, this is my first stop on my book tour. I'm going to be going out to California or back to California after this.
Nice. Dude, I'm thumbing through this for our listeners right now. And the quality of this book is, first off, it's got that gorgeous new book smell.
Yeah, and also I want to say that I did want you to open it on air. I'm like, wait, I want you to really get a feel for this thing and the weight of it. It weighs 3 pounds.
I mean, this is like, incredibly well done, and the photography is insane for sure. But I mean, so what was the motivation in making this book? Because it's something. Where did the name come from? Waking Up in the Sea. Where did you come up with that?
Well, you'll read about that in my book. It's actually the 7th chapter.
Oh, we got a salesman here.
Yeah, you can read about that, but I'll go into it. You know, I've been wanting to make a book for a long time. That's why I was printing zines for about 7 or 8 years. I was really insecure, or just kind of didn't want to take on the challenge of a book. I feel like when you make a book, there's so many things that you don't really know in terms of publishing and distribution and the cost of everything. So I really took a long time on these zines. Then finally, about 2 years ago, I really wanted to make a book. But part of the name is I've been having the same nightmare every night for about over 10 years. I drowned and I died. It happened out at Cortez Bank. It actually happened. I write about that experience in my book, Drowning, and Sean Dollar saved my life.
Wow.
And so ever since that experience, you know, it took me 2 years to really put all my thoughts together and in a way that I could share kind of what I've been going through since I stopped surfing big waves. And a big part of this book was to share that I stopped surfing big waves because of concussions and because of that drowning experience. Yeah. And it's really hard for me to talk about with people. And so for me to kind of break this down to every person I talk to is really difficult. So I spent 2 years just going through all my notes. I've been taking notes on all my trips and writing and with my camera every trip my whole life. So it's easy for me to go back through. I have about 25 hard drives, go through. I even have a couple hard drives in safety deposit boxes at the bank near my house, because I'm like, if my house gets flooded, which it happened before.
Oh my gosh.
Just in case anything happens, I have my stuff backed up. And so that's, you know, in terms of this book, I just, you know, I have these nightmares that kind of keep bringing up these traumatic big wave experiences. I'm impacted by the big wave concussions every single day. My right eye is functioning at about 30%. And there's just certain things that what my big wave surfing career, how that impacts me today. And it's really hard for me, I think, because of the concussions to really let people know or break it down for them, whether they have time for this 10, 15-minute conversation for me to really let them know what happened. But with this book, I just wanted to kind of share that, whether it's the concussions and these nightmares that still haunt me every day. I grind my teeth at night. I wear a mouth guard that I probably chew through.
I do too,
yeah.
But that's since COVID started, I think, for me.
I mean, I've had mouth guards for about 10 years.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing, you know, with the mouth guards, I just grind my teeth down every night because of the nightmares. I have hot sweats. And all this is because of these just big wave traumatic experiences I have, and specifically the drowning one. And so I'm always waking up in the ocean and waking up in these different parts of the world that I've visited, different big wave locations. And pretty much I feel like I'm dying, or I can't get to a hospital, or no one's going to save me. And there's a lot of kind of experiences like that.
So, I mean, it's really interesting with like traumatic brain injuries, or as some call them, TBIs. Mm-hmm. There is like a study that was done recently where they found like, what was it? A recent study found that injuries to be the most commonly sustained injury amongst surfers is head injuries. Mm-hmm. And it's about 24% of all injuries, actually, ranging from lacerations to, hitting your head on the bottom to just smacking the water. Mm-hmm. Can you do you mind going into a little bit of detail, like what happened with Cortez Bank?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't just specifically Cortez Bank. I mean, it was a series of concussions, and that was like one of the final blows.
Yeah,
that was a very traumatic experience, but I had 1 or 2 concussions around that time where I was dizzy and nauseous for 4 or 6 months. I had vertigo all the time. I thought I was losing my memory and my mind and a lot of different things. I was very emotional. It was a confusing time. So that was like the pinnacle. It wasn't that experience. Drowning at Cortez Bank was more of just me hitting my limit, and I was almost scared of the ocean after. Like, it took me a long time to want to surf big waves, or like I felt like, some pressure because I've been spent my entire life on this path, and finally something happened to me that scared me so much that made me not want to do it anymore. And so it's confusing and it's hard to deal with sometimes when everyone kind of expects you to just keep going on like nothing happened.
Too,
Yeah, and that's a big thing too. When you have sponsors that are helping you and promoting you or pushing you, and you have a traumatic brain injury. I didn't tell my sponsors, and most people I don't think would, because you want that paycheck or you want to keep getting put on trips. And if you tell them something like this, you could get just cut. That could be the end of your entire career. You'll never get picked up again, because once you have, it's just difficult in professional surfing. And because once you have a sponsor, if you get kind of cut, it's just really tough.
I mean, it's comparable to football players, basically. But it's something that has not been discussed really at all in the public's eye, or just only recently is it coming up, particularly with you. Sterling Spencer just recently had an episode discussing his traumatic head injuries as well.
Yeah. So he's going through it, though, like right now.
Yeah.
I mean, I was lucky that I've been watching what he's doing, and I just think sometimes it's best to you need time to recover.
Yeah.
Sometimes it takes a year or two. And it's a lot of the times that I was going through my hardest, most confusing concussion times where I was just nauseous or not feeling right or super emotional. And there's a lot to that, and I can get into it, but I wasn't really sharing much about that because I was so confused. He's being very open about it, but also it's something that he's going to, I'm sure, deal with for the rest of his life. And I'm dealing with that now. I mean, with my vision and a traumatic, I had so many traumatic brain injuries that my right eye is functioning at 30%. And to be more specific with that, it's my VOR, my vestibular ocular reflex, which is my eye's ability to fixate on an object when my head's moving. So if I'm still, I can fixate, I can focus my eyes. If I'm moving in a car, if I'm turning my head, I can't focus at all.
Wow.
And my right eye can't focus. Like if I cover my left eye and try to look through my right eye, my emotions, my limbic response, and all this stuff, how the whole brain, how it's connected to the frontal lobe where all your emotions are, it just starts firing and going crazy. So the way that my brain injuries and concussions impacted me was my right eye. I'm dealing with this right now, and it's something that it's been really difficult. It's hard to talk about. And I had to actually, you introduced me as a photographer. I can't shoot anymore.
Really?
Yeah.
At all?
No.
So I didn't know that.
No, it's but I've been sharing a lot of this stuff on social media. It's tough to talk about, but I had to stop about, 2 years ago. And this is how I've just been constantly evolving. But every time I went out in the water and I'm trying to focus, I'd get, every time I tried to focus when I was in the water, I'd get seasick.
Yeah.
I get seasick and feel sick. I'd go on the beach, I'd be spun for hours. And so there's a lot of things that I can't shoot anymore. And I don't really get in cars. I don't go on boats. Even when I'm here in New York, I love that I can walk around, get on a bike and get places because I hate getting in cars.
Yeah.
And so there's certain things, and part of getting into cars is, I can't, I think maybe because my vision's blocked or something, my brain starts firing. And I've just been seeing this incredible brain doctor. I've been getting therapy, and there's a lot of stuff with these injuries that you deal with because it just, it makes me incredibly more emotional. A lot of people normally when they rest, if there's a chart, they can rest. Let's say if it's out of 100, they're resting at about 10 or 20 out of 100. Mm-hmm. Someone cuts you off driving, you're going up to like 70. Where for me, I start at like a 70 or 80.
Wow.
And so if anything kind of happens, like someone cuts me off driving, I'm on Instagram, I see someone get punched out or anything like that, I have this crazy emotional response. I can't control it. It makes me more impulsive. And so I can't control, and that's all impacted by my eye and also, the frontal lobe where all your executive decision, and I have a lot of anxiety. I'm emotional, and there's certain stuff that I have to just be a lot more aware of what pisses me off and what I don't like, and ways that I know I can stay calm, because otherwise I can just kind of be too emotional and get too upset. So it's great I just try to really stay calm all the time and try not to let stuff get to me. And even in terms of driving, there's not many things surfing times a day I surf. There's just ways that I can avoid certain people or crowds and